Good day, my friend. Good day, my friend. How art thou? Let me remove this shirt. How tacky of me. Let me remove this camiseta, this camise. Good day, my friends. Welcome. It is now, as we speak, 11:36 or so. 11:36. 11:36. This is Friday morning. This is August the 21st. I'm about to go in to do my show on WABC. And I love doing this right before, this is before the day starts. It might be the last last day of the show for you, but to me, it is to me, it's different. To me, it's a different story. To me, it's the beginning of my day. It's a very interesting, kind of an inverted world I live. So much I want to discuss with you, my friends. But before we really begin, I want you to understand a couple of things, and I want you to grasp some concepts which are very, very critical. And the first, more than anything else, I want you to understand is this thing called we are involved in a web of conspiracies, the likes of which we never, ever even thought possible. Okay. Let me make sure we understand that. We are involved in a web of conspiracies, a warren, a labyrinth of conspiracies that we never thought even possible. We use that word rather loosely. It's a word that we use sometimes, I think, too much. A lot of our detractors use it. They use it. They always laugh at us because they say that we're crazy. We're crazy. We're lunatics. And we really aren't in the least. But I wanted to tell you something. I wanted to bring you up to speed. I wanted to have you understand what is happening here. It is more complicated now than it has ever been. It is now more complicated than anything we ever thought even remotely possible. And I sometimes have to take a breather because calling it a conspiracy doesn't even come close. Doesn't come close. There's Lady DH, our first person. Good morning, lady. Good morning to you. How are you this fine day? Sip of Joe in your direction, dear lady, fair lady. You saw what happened with Alina Habba. You saw what happened with the Trump's civil verdict being reversed in part. In part. Bethany joins us. Good morning, Bethany. Good day. You saw, I'm going to be doing I'm looking over my notes from today's show, which I normally kind of look up, at least as subject matter. Alina Habba. Epstein files not released yet. Mrs. L went to a fentanyl protest, not a protest, but a memorial in Times Square and at St. Patrick's Cathedral. And we are learning something which is so frightening and so beyond anything we ever imagined. Fentanyl. What if I told you? Good morning, Frank. There's morning, Frank. Crusty white bread. Bless his heart. We are looking at something which may be beyond anything we thought. What if I told you that the fentanyl poisoning in this country is being done by China? It is being at levels nobody thought possible, and that one day it is being so stockpiled that it will be placed in water supplies, it will be dropped in an aerosolized form, it will permeate every aspect of our world. What if I told you that? What if I told you, listen to what I'm saying. What if I told you that it was so great, so horrible? What would happen? You wouldn't be able to figure it out. You wouldn't be able to to identify it necessarily. You wouldn't be able to figure out specifically where I was. By the way, the event was called the Black Poster Project, and there were pictures all over St. Patrick's Cathedral of loved ones, pictures of loved ones killed through fentanyl. Not overdoses, but killed. Let me see if I say that again. I want you to understand this. What if I told you that China would deliberately be poisoning us? Huge. What if it was in the water system? What if somebody could figure out a way to, again, through some type of aerosolize? It takes a de minimis amount of this. What if it were dropped by drone? What if it were? What if people dropped in numbers you couldn't understand? What would happen? Do you think that is impossible? It takes a special mind to think that. The two people right now, my friends, who are the most important voices, I feel. I hope you saw yesterday my appearance with the one and only Mr. Sean Atwood. It was just a wonderful time. It's so pleasant, so incredibly pleasant and wonderful to always appear with him. Sean is such a good guy, and he's so smart, and he has such a great show, and it's wonderful to be able to speak on behalf of a lot of folks. Let me give you this. This is here we go. This is the link for you. Let me put it to you this way. This is the link. I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to say Sean interview. I'm just going to put that there. And we spoke at great length, and I was talking about a variety of things. And he has a British audience, as you know, and these folks are from the British Isles, and they're wonderful, and I love being with them. They're such good people. In any event, there's the link right there. There we go. And I said the two individuals that I think are the most important speakers now. Notwithstanding Alex Jones, but guess who I think are the two most exciting speakers around today? Laura Loomer, Nick Fuentes. Laura Loomer, Nick Fuentes. And when I tell you this, it's something which I think needs you need to be explained to them. They are so revolutionary, and both of them speak to something which I want to do. My message has always been wake the up. Wake up. If you think this is the message of Trump, you're out of your mind. MAGA and the like are so important for us. These are the two who are shaking it up like you can't believe. She's going in and telling Trump and all of his cohorts and all of the like to back off and for him not to trust these people. That's number one. Number two, what Nick is saying about, he's very negative about Trump. He, like I, are saying we're not followers of Trump. We're followers of what Trump is saying. Did you see the other day? Maybe you share my horror. When I saw the other day, people were actually getting excited over the fact that this was to me simply tantalizingly amazing. That the president or his people, Kristi Noem, whom I despise because she wants to be too sexy. And whenever somebody is into braggadocious self-reference, Bobby Kennedy, Pete Hegseth, look at me. Have you seen Kellyanne Conway lately? She had a head transplant. Their whole thing is look at me. If you look at pictures of Kim Kardashian, Kimberly Guilfoyle, Laura Trump, uh, Christy Noem. You don't even recognize these people. Their whole thing is, I am going to be sexy. And the first time I see that, I don't know why it is. Maybe you can help me with this. Maybe you can help perhaps I always held, and I'm going to tell you this, and you might not believe me, but I'm going to tell you something. I've always held women in great reverence. It's a version of not the Madonna prostitute complex, but the Madonna dumbass complex. Women to me today are two forms: people you respect, or those who are just like everybody else, who want to be hot, who want to be sexy. And when I see this, you have no idea, it turns me off, because the women, the Maggie Thatchers, Jean Kirkpatrick, Madame Curie, even people in Hollywood, and some of these people were strumpets and trollops, Audrey Hepburn, they even Grace Kelly. Granted, she was a real tart, but the point is, their countenance was one of respect. And there's something about when have you seen Sabina Hassenfelder, or women of science, people who are, I just, and when these dimwits come along, it just drives me nuts. So here come, and Laura, to her Loomer, to her sad truth, is very, very, she herself had a head transplant, and she herself is, she reverts to this terrible name calling, women are whores. And but I love people who come along and they get it, and they mix it up. Arguably, if you think about it, the people who are the ones who really mix it up are people like Megyn Kelly to an extent. This is in our group, by the way. Candace Owens, but Laura is on a level. She is vicious, and she's vicious because she has this sense of loyalty. Candace Owens has a thing about authenticity. She is a different story. Anyway. And she is saying these people are phonies. The president is being lied to. The president is being lied to. And he himself is setting himself up as well by virtue of putting these nincompoops in who really shouldn't be anywhere near Trump or the Oval Office. Now, moving to a different realm, a different framework. She is talking about something which is critical, and Nick Fuentes is talking about it. And he needs something so desperately powerful. He's got these Bobby Kennedys who he wants to work out. This is a group of man, he's 70 years old. He wants to do pull-ups. I think that's nice. Do you remember anybody? I mean, there were people in the old days like Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster. Burt Lancaster was a circus performer. He was in great shape, but they didn't constantly always tell you, "Look at me and look, I can work out." I mean, I don't understand. Why we have this. Serena Williams is this. Look at me, I lost weight. I don't know. I just don't fit in. I want to hear people look at me and look what I'm doing. Alex Jones, to an extent, said, "Look, I'm working out." If you work out, just work out. Tell me what you think. We need thinkers. And Nick Fuentes, granted, he said some things that I would have never said things in a way that he does. But he is saying that a lot of the folks who claim to be pro Trump acolytes and pro MAGA acolytes are phonies. Look what that Christy Noem said. She actually said, we're going to paint. She was going to paint the not the walls, but the fences and the gates and these walls, these partitions. Did you see this? By the way, Mexicans were climbing up. They weren't that tall, and she was out there with her border patrol tailored outfit on, her tight jeans, her hat, her hair extensions, and she came out and said, "I'm going to paint. We're going to paint these walls black because black paint absorbs heat, and heat will make these hot." And she actually said, with a straight face, I thought, my God, she has absolutely lost her mind. Lost her mind. This is your idea? Seriously? Seriously? I want to explain something to you, my friends. And I'm going to say this in code, okay? Because we got to watch what we say here. We get lumped into one big group. I'm sure you've seen this. We've been lumped into one big group. That we're all the same, that we're fungible. One is equal to the other. Okay? Okay. And we have been told that oh, by the way, Brasileira Mia says everything is but a distraction, a veil pulling us from what truly matters. Absolutely. Obrigado. Thank you so much for that. By the way, don't forget, my friends, you know what this week is, right? Actually, 4 days. The birthday. I want parades. I want cars driving with their lights on. Okay? It's coming up. Just want to let you know. But I have always wanted to tell you that I want to talk about the issues. I don't talk, believe it or not, about. I'd like to tell you kind of what Mrs. L and I maybe do from time to time, especially if there's some story. But I do not talk about me. I do not talk about me. I do not talk about what I'm doing. Look at me running. Look at me. My family, my background. It's secret. It's different. This is the news performance act. But I don't do that. We just. I think sometimes we kind of celebrate. Look what we're doing, because sometimes we'll do something I think is fun. Like the other day, we took pictures in a sunflower. Reminds me of sowing the seeds of love. Sunflower. But I don't get into that, and I've never understood this, and I don't know why people do. Yesterday, Mrs. L she came back from St. Patrick's Cathedral with this Black Poster project with these parents who were so sad. They were so sad. They were crying. This is where we are. So I'm legitimate. I'm here about an issue. I'm not here about, you know what I mean? Me, I've got to tell you this, obviously, but it's not about me. It's about the issue. And that's why people who do their best to always promote themselves. Anyway. So there is a group of people who believe that we and our mission are into this weird conspiracy about the pedo world. Remember when people talked about Podesta? And I tell you this, my WABC crowd, they wouldn't understand this. You know how we talk about Podesta, Hillary, the laptop, spirit cooking. Remember that stuff? Abramovich, the Podesta emails, a certain celebration in some circles of a substance that's called, I don't know, referred to as pizza. Now, I have said, pump the brakes. Don't get carried away. Don't get wrapped up. But I will tell you that the pervasive degree of predation, the networks, from everything from Hollywood, government, CPS, music, cartels. It is bigger than anything you can imagine. Okay? Okay. And they laughed at us. They called us conspiracy theorists because we're talking about it. I'm saying, are you not looking around here? Do you not pay attention? And they dismissed us as crazy. Okay. So the other day I was watching something, and there were two people talking. One was, her name is Abby Martin speaking to Kitty Halper. Right? Halper. And they said, where are these conservative types when they can't even release the Epstein files? Now, I don't know if Loomer has said this per se or anybody else, but have you seen this? Clinton appointed judge refuses to release the Epstein files. Did you see this? What do you think that is? What do you think so? What do you think that is? What do you think that's about? What do you think that is? Now, the issue is, which is most interesting, if I didn't know better, I would swear that Pam Bondi and the president, to an extent, are passing the buck by making it seem like the courts are not releasing the Epstein file stuff, the grand jury information, because it's obstructing. Who do you think is responsible for the obstruction of truth? Who? Is it the courts? No. Is it the grand jury? No. Who do you think? Who do you think? Who do you think? Who do you think? MAGA, left, right, Trump, Bondi, all they have to do is release the information they have in the Department of Justice. Let me say this again. If they wanted you to know this, you don't need to get the grand jury information. You don't want grand jury information to be released. The grand jury is secret. There could be people in there whose names were innocent, who had nothing to do with this, who testified only because of the fact that they were told this was secret. Do you know what a limited hangout is? Do you know what a limited hangout is? I've told you this to the point where I know I've said this, and I want you to understand it. This is the most important concept. And if ever there is a concept you should know, it is this. A limited hangout is an intelligence in political term for a controlled disclosure of damning information. Does that make any sense to you? Many of you wonderful folks love the term distraction. You love distraction. I think Carla mentioned a distraction, and you're right in part. A distraction can be a couple of things. The distraction can be either something that I throw at you that basically shows you, something that's a real, what am I trying to say? A real, something that really throws you off. Like, hey, look, a squirrel. Oh, look, there's a new thing. Hey, there's a new issue. It throws you off. It distracts you from the actual case. But there's another one too, because you can only pay certain attention. The limited hangout is where I introduce something to you, and you think I've revealed something big, but I haven't. I haven't at all. I've shown you part of it. I've shown you part. Let me just say that again, part. This is critical. Let me tell you again. A limited hangout is an intelligence and political term for a controlled disclosure of damaging information. It's deliberately releasing part of the truth in order to cover up or distract from the full, more damaging reality. And the phrase comes from spycraft, especially CIA tradecraft. It was used during the Cold War. Nixon even used it. When operatives were caught in lies or scandals, too big to deny or outright, or to deny outright, they would hang out just enough of the story, often the least incriminating, to appear transparent, and that was all there was. The goal was to satisfy curiosity, mislead, distract, and keep the deeper secrets buried. Classic signs of a limited hangout are admitting some wrongdoing, but framing it as a minor or accidental, sacrificing lower level figures to shield higher ups, flooding the media with partial truths as to make the public think that they've got the whole picture, changing the narrative from kind of systemic corruption to isolated. Watergate is often cited as an example. Nixon's people admitted to a third rate burglary long before the full scope of the White House involvement was exposed. More recently, critics argue that the partial document releases, like Epstein's heavily redacted files, that this function as limited hangouts, giving you just enough scandal to chew on while concealing the real networks of power. Let me explain something to you. If President Trump were 100% disclosure based, he would sit there and say, Pam, I want you to have perhaps maybe an ombudsman. I want you to make sure that we say, list all the people who were charged or who not charged, but who investigated. Don't list women or children or people who were children at the time. But even remember, you're led to believe most of Epstein was not pedos, and no, I mean that was part. And when I say pedo, they weren't children. They were, you know what I mean? They were under. I'm not trying to discuss it, but I don't want you to think of babies in Pampers. You know what I mean? That's disgusting. So what Pam Bondi is doing is saying, let's make it seem like the feds are not doing it, like Clinton appointees are not doing it. See, don't look at us. We want to. I have the files. The files. I don't want the files. That's a limited hangout. I want the names. I don't want the files. I don't want the documents. I don't want the flight logs. No. No. Were you, if you suspect your husband or spouse is involved in some kind of extramarital affairs, do you want to hear the records of the swipes from the door fob? No, you want to know whether your husband or wife is having an affair. You don't want to know whether they checked into the La Quinta on Route 3. No, you want to know whether they're having an affair. That's that. So they give you something to make you think like, well, we're going to give you. No, that's not what I want. And that's, Carla, that's where the distraction comes from. Now, you know, and I know, many of you are dear friends, you have been involved yourself in, maybe when you were young, involvement with family members. Sorry to say this, maybe coaches, maybe priests, maybe whatever. And you have most probably worried about being embarrassed, being responsible for, let's say, having the priest be arrested or the coach. You didn't want your name, and I understand that, and we must respect it. But there are a lot of people out there, Virginia Giuffre. Let me give you another one. What was the official cause of death of Virginia Giuffre? We don't know. They said it was self-harm, but we don't know. Why? They give you little stories about things, even if it's so. What Nick Fuentes is saying to an extent, what Laura Loomer is saying to an extent, is this president is either keeping things quiet because he is covering up for people. He is keeping things quiet because he has made a deal with Israel. And how this story of this man, this cybersecurity, this Israeli, and nobody is talking about that. Where do we find out about this? By going elsewhere. Go to other folks outside of the realm. Cable news is where news go to die. And that's why we're here. It's not just Epstein. They also want you to think that Epstein is just about sex. No. By the way, I need 300 likes, my friend. I hate to do this, but it means a lot to me. Please. I've got 80? Please. You probably don't even know that. I don't want to scold you, but I need those likes. Just like what you're seeing. Just the like puts us into the HOV lane. Right, in any event. This is critical stuff. Because Epstein is a part of it. Who was responsible? Les Wexner. You know the name Les Wexner. Ehud Barak. Him. Alan Dershowitz was, though not involved per se, he had one case brought against him by Virginia Giuffre that was dismissed. But he, by virtue of representing everybody in the Israeli higher-ups, which is what he's a lawyer, nothing wrong with that, representing Epstein, if there were files, if there were tapes, if there were thumb drives, if there were evidence, does a lawyer who come across him, does he have any duty to make the public aware of them? No. I don't believe for a moment, my friends, that there are thumb drives and hard disks, hard drives, and no. I don't believe that. Why? Because if you're running truly an extortion, you're going to have this replenished. You're going to have somebody pick up these files every day. You don't leave them sitting around. By the way, you can't hear this, but right now I can hear the cruise ship about to pull out at midnight. I just heard the horn. You can't hear it. Doesn't really matter. So Epstein is the tip of the iceberg. This fellow who is in Las Vegas, who controls Las Vegas, Miriam Adelson. Powerful. AIPAC, the Israeli lobby. We can't lie about this. Now, where Loomer is important, she's a cover for this. She was actually the other day angry that people were suggesting that, or she was against offering temporary visas to the family members of children maimed, hurt, crippled, who needed American military attention or medical attention. She was against this because they were Gaza, they were Hamas. She and I absolutely disagree, but that's okay. That's a part of it. Then you got Nick Fuentes, who is the opposite. And then you have Candace Owens, who's just angry. Let me make sure you understand something. And I want you to be the same way. I don't get angry. I understand the position. I understand this. You can't do a good job if you get angry. I don't have a beef with Zionism. I don't have a beef with Israel. I have a beef with what they're doing now. Whoever they are who does this, I got a beef with you. It's not about anything bigger. It's this behavior. And the fact that President Trump has been bought and sold, ostensibly, by this very powerful lobby, like others have been bought and sold by the gun lobby, Second Amendment lobby, the NRA lobby, the abortion lobby, the big tech lobby, big agra, big pharma. There's nothing new to this. Do you know that for the longest time, the word Israel has caused a kind of a reaction? Like you just it's like a patella reflex. Like, don't say that. Don't say anything involving that name because you, for the longest time, and I've been doing this since 1988, and you, there were things you didn't say. You don't say the N word, you don't say the F bomb, and you don't say anything that is construed as anti-Semitic, and then that spread, just like racism began to spread. If you say, I don't want my children being exposed to drag shows. Oh, you're homophobic, you're transphobic. See what they do? This is the same trick. We know the routine. My friend, we know how it works. We know the routine. This is the way it's done all the time. This is the way it's done. So I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. But understand, President Trump has got to come clean. Mr. Trump, if you wanted to let us know about the Epstein case, you would have done it immediately. You don't want us to know. It's that simple. We don't have to go to a grand jury. You're the Department of Justice. You're the Department of Justice. Sometimes I think he also does some things knowing. Like I knew he knew Alina Habba wouldn't be allowed in. I think he wants the turmoil. I think he wants to be turned down. I think he wants to be able to say, see what they're doing? See, they're against MAGA or whatever. I really do. Listen, don't feel like you're losing your MAGA membership. I am an American citizen. I want to remind you of this. I don't care who the president is. There's some stuff and you think, do you know, my friends, that what he did and what happened regarding Ukraine is one of the funniest things. Nobody knows anything about what happened. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nobody to this. We don't know what happened. Let me say this again to all of you, my friends. Do you understand this? Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Nothing happened. It was a joke. They got back on the plane. They went back to whatever. Putin is laughing his ass off. And nobody knows what Douglas Murray doesn't know what to do. Alex Jones doesn't know what to do. Mearsheimer doesn't know. Nobody knows. Pick anybody you want. Mearsheimer. Pepe Escobar. Larry Johnson. Judge. Name it. Just name it. Name it. Nobody knows. Nobody understands anything. Do you hear what I'm saying? Nobody understands anything. Nothing happened. And Putin is laughing his ass. Now, I don't know if Trump knows this, doesn't know this. I don't know. I can't tell Trump. I can't tell. I don't know if he's doing things because he's not that smart. He doesn't have the right people. I wouldn't pick half of the people around him. I wouldn't pick Pete Hegseth as my DOD. I wouldn't pick it. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, with all due respect. Pam Bondi, are you kidding me? Christy Noem, he likes these people. You see Judge Janine? I guess she's doing a good job. She went crazy about his stupid sandwich. She refers to herself as Judge Janine. Judge Janine. She's a United States attorney for the District of Columbia, and she calls herself Judge Janine. That's her TV show because they're burnishing the reel to go back to Fox News once they get through it. Come on. Do I hate this? Yes. That's why, in some respects, in a lot of respects, she's correct. Laura Loomer is 100%. Now, Laura Loomer is sometimes so vehemently, ferociously pro-Israel, not Zionist, but pro-Israel, that you think to yourself, is she on the take too? Not on the take, I shouldn't say that. A different way. And Nick Fuentes is the opposite. So we take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but not everything, not 100%. He's too virulently anti-Israel. Too much. I've got a friend of mine who we always joke about Carnival cruises and all these these new, he calls them lafandas, and these people with bonnets or whatever. He can't stand these people, especially because they're black. This is my friend. He won't say it, but he takes a little too glee. I don't mind saying, no, there is a contingent of black America that is causing all the rioting in Chipotle because you got the wrong sauce, and the Quinishas and Latricias and all that. I understand, but he goes a little too far, and you can always tell. It's like, wow, this guy's really serious. He's not. This isn't just about crime. This is. And I know people who say things where I do not believe that Israel was this, and I believe it's genocide. Okay, fine. And then you listen to people and they just say, this will be the end of Zionism. It's like, wait a minute, take it easy. 6 months ago, you were talking about unboxing, curling irons. And now there's this hatred for Zionists. The best example of this? No, not the best example of hatred, but Max Blumenthal, calm. Judge Napolitano, even Jeffrey Sachs. They say things, they're very impassioned, but they don't lose their mind. Candace Owens loses her mind. Abby Martin, if you ever see her, she's they're off the charts. They're so angry. I'm not saying you aren't warranted, but if you're going to be in the business of this, don't ever let people think you're taking it personally. Okay, does that make any sense? Does that make any sense? And I know a lot of times, and listen, if you are enjoying, and some of you have a real, absolute anti Israel thing, okay, you're entitled. Years ago, sometimes it was about the French. They hated the French. If your focus is on Israel and not what Israel's doing, you got a problem. If you say Israel versus genocide, Israel versus apartheid, Israel versus ethnic cleansing, Israel versus, occupation, Israel versus settler colonialism, or whatever it is, you've got a hard on for Israel. You got a problem with that. If you keep bringing up liberty, U.S. has liberty over and over, how many times? Do you think we don't know this? It's like you're stuck on this. Move on to something else. Because if you stay on one subject, I think I know what's going on. It's like my friend who whenever he talks about, urban violence, he always says the black, it's like, ooh. It's not really about the violence, it's about the people. Just say it. Just recognize it. And it's not that you're anti-Semitic. You can, listen, I knew people who just hated the French. The French. Oh my God. Nobody's doing the French anymore. Maybe we should after Macron. And by the way, another thing people don't understand, by the way, Geneva Convention is Geneva Conventions. Conventions. It is plural. It's like there are things that are like the Smithsonian Institution, not the Smithsonian Institute. So whenever you say Geneva Convention, always put a plural. You'll sound like you know what you're talking about. In any event, all right, my friend, we are into Friday. I'm going to wrap it up here. Grab me a car. Head on over to the studio. Make sure you listen to WABC, 1 a.m. Eastern Time. And I'm honored to have you there. Thank you so much. Carla, thank you so much for your kindness, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And remember, thank you for being with us. You are my children. You are always welcome in. I love the fact that you care so much about these studies, these issues, these news. It's refreshing to me. It makes me think that maybe we have a chance of getting something done. A lot of people really do. And even no matter, sometimes I think the focus might be a little bit off. It doesn't matter. The fact that you even care. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious day. We will talk to you later. Have a terrific day. And don't forget, until then, my friends, remember the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da.